a very warm welcome to this event. My name is David Ison. I'm the Dean of St Paul's Cathedral, just down the other end of Fleet Street. These flowers are here to tell us and remind us as to what we're doing here today. We are here to remember the human cost that is undergone by disabled people as they go through the work capability assessment. Each of these flowers represents one person who has died within 6 weeks of the WCA or going around that process. It's a picture of the human beings who have found it extremely hard to cope with what the government has required them to do. And we know that a number of people have gone through a lot of suffering. Some have even taken their own lives as a result of the processes that they've had to undergo. In a moment I'm going to tell you what we're going to be doing, and you should each have a sheet which gives you an order. If you haven't got a sheet that tells you, just stick your hand up and our helpful staff will come round and give you a sheet with a programme on it. My colleague Mo Ansar, who is a civil rights campaigner and all sorts of other things, you can tell he's not an Anglican vicar like me, but he's going to tell us a bit more about why we're here and why it's important. Mo.
Thank you, David. As David said, we're here to highlight the human cost of government policy in relation to disabled people. We're here to assure disabled people that they're not alone and that many stand in solidarity alongside them. We're here to call on the government to listen to disabled people, their support groups, the BMA and many ordinary people who are shocked, absolutely shocked by what is happening. We require the government to take action to remedy the situation by ending the current system of the work capability assessment, by bringing it back under the NHS so that any assessment of people is by someone who knows them, their circumstances and their often very complex health problems. It's unfortunate that many people haven't been able to travel here to be with us today. Many of them because they can't afford it, and some just aren't able to do it. Some are following this event on a live link, and we acknowledge their presence with us and send them our love.
Thank you, Mo. So what we're going to be doing, in a moment we're going to have somebody to tell us a story, of their own story of engaging with this process of how the government treats disabled people. Then we're going to have, I'm going to tell you something more about what's been going on over the road in Parliament a little while ago. Then we're going to have the gospel choir back, and they're going to sing to us a reflective song. We'll have a couple of readings and thoughts from scripture and a poem from a disabled person. We're going to have a couple of minutes silence in memory of those who've lost their lives and who've suffered through this process. And then we're going to have a time to pray and to think. You might be a person who prays, you may be someone who doesn't believe in prayer. If you don't, you can still use the time to think and reflect as we look around Parliament Square at these different institutions and think about how they interact with the lives of disabled people. A member of the Disability Arts Group is going to perform a dramatic monologue about the experience of what it means. And then we're going to respond at the end by making a commitment together about how we want to work for a better deal for all disabled people. And then the gospel choir will close the ceremonial part of the event by getting us to sing together. And then we're going to have some speakers who will tell us more about what's going on in the political scene about this and how we can respond to that. Some of us also, during the event, are going to be taking a letter down to Downing Street, asking the government to respond, to listen to the voices of people. And this is very much about asking people to listen to the voices that are crying out in pain and anguish, saying that we need to see change. Carol Partridge is a lady from East London. She has 3 children with disabilities, and she's going to come and tell us something of her story, of what it's meant for her and why she's here today. Carol.
My name's Carol Vincent, and I did write some things down actually, but now I'm here, I'm just going to speak from the heart. I'm an ordinary working class mum. I have 3 adult children. Each of my 3 children are now disabled. My daughter is partially hearing. She's born partially hearing, and we've dealt with forms and appointments all her life. My son was born with autism and quite a serious underlying medical problem. So we've dealt with hospitals and forms all our lives. And in a time when this government is trying to run down the NHS, is trying to cap and cut benefits to people who need them, my family is one of those families, as I'm sure yours is, that have paid in for years and years and years to support those people in this country who are unable to easily support themselves for whatever reason. That has to continue, and we have to continue to support people, because one day that might be us. And my 3rd child is one of those people who needs support now, who has just recently been diagnosed with terminal cancer, who has 4 young children, whose husband has had to give up his full-time job that he had. We're not scroungers, we're people who have worked all our lives to support those people who are not able to themselves, and ourselves if we need it at some point. That's how big societies work, real big societies. And what's actually happened is this government is telling us we need an NHS, a decent NHS, whilst trying to cut it. We need to trust doctors, whilst actually not trusting doctors. Because when that letter comes through your door, and we've had 3 of them, and we've filled in hundreds of pages of forms for DLA and for work assessments and this assessment and that assessment. We've been backwards and forwards to appointments, some with great difficulty due to, the bus not letting you on. There's a wheelchair there and it sails past you. The tubes are not accessible, taxis are at an extortionate cost and you can't afford it. Well, now they're trying to attack people like us even further, and it has to stop, and we have to stand up. Because now you get that letter and they don't trust the doctors and the support services who have said you need this and you need that and you have this disability or this illness or whatever. What they're saying is we don't trust you, you've got to come to our office. Well, where's our office? It's not near you, because the letter says it's miles away. And is it accessible? No, not always. And what are they asking you? Quite intimate, personal questions that are nothing to do with whether you are entitled to have this money to keep you at a reasonable standard of living. And you must believe me, because we've lived it for years, you do struggle on benefits. You can't do lots of the things that ordinary families can do. And it's not because you're disabled, you're lazy, you're a scrounger. It's because you are not enabled to do those things, because there are so many things in the way that prevent you from doing them. Most people with disabilities are very able to do lots of things, but there's lots of things to stop them. And the Atos assessments are one of them. They will be cutting benefits, they will be making people poorer, and people will die, or they will take their lives because of these assessments. We have to stand up and fight this, and we have to do it now. Thank you all for coming.
Michelle is going to read to us some words which were spoken in the building over there in a debate on the 17th of January 2013, which Michael Meacher MP sponsored. You'll be hearing from him later. It's very difficult for people to talk about their experience, but this is on the public record, what MPs have said about their experience with their constituents. Michelle.